everyone. Joan Hamburg with you, and today we are broadcasting from the beautiful Water's Edge restaurant right here in Long Island City at 44th Drive. We have a great show, and many of you have been with me. You come to our different remotes, you travel on our different ships. I know some of you have taken hours to get here, and the weather is cooperating. We have two great guests to open with. Matthew Modine, it's his birthday today. And
you can sing it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much.
And Matthew, who's won all kinds of awards and been in fabulous things, is here. And I'll tell you why in just a minute with Jennifer Morrison. It's not her birthday today.
No, it's not my birthday.
But both of them are starring in The Miracle Worker. And this is very exciting because you know them from all their different lives. Matthew, whom we know from film so much. Matthew starring in a million different movies, from Married to the Mob, Pacific Heights, and of course, the wonderful HBO series And the Band Played On. And Jennifer Morrison, who's also making her Broadway debut, is Dr. Allison Cameron in House MD. And if you remember, she took a little rest from that, yes. And now she's written back in. So Jennifer is there too. Very happy that both of you are here,
yes,
at this restaurant in a wonderful play.
Thank you.
I actually went to see Miracle Worker with one of my pals and a 13-year-old. That is the best play. You know, people call me all the time and say, what am I going to do? I've got 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds. What's in the theater? And The Miracle Worker is the perfect place.
I think so.
So explain how all this came about. I mean, how did an agent call you? Or let's start with you, Jennifer.
I just auditioned, actually. I'd been doing house for 6 years and knew that I was going to have some time off and really wanted to have a theater experience again. I had started on stage when I was 5, so for me, I just really wanted to get back on stage. And, really just poured all of my efforts into meeting with people in New York and trying to get involved in theater in New York. And this audition came up, and I just went in and read for it.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, Jennifer plays the mother.
Yes.
She's my second wife. She's my younger bride.
Well, you know what? You're making a very important point. The captain here has already had another life. In fact, his son from his first life lives with them.
Yes.
And then this family produced Helen Keller.
Yes.
You know, and another baby. But you all know the story. The miracle of live theater is that every time you see something, it's new again. And this is a very different performance. It has beautiful stars in it. You guys are great. And we're all sitting there crying and laughing, you know, and the kids too, because when you see it right up there, and that's a lovely theater because it's in the round.
Yeah, it seems really nice for the audiences to be so close. It seems like people get to feel like they're actually at the table with us, you know, instead of having that.
Such an intimate space, yeah. To be able to sit in the audience and look across the stage to other people that are in the audience, it makes you feel like you're part of that family of people struggling to try to find a way to communicate to each other. Because that's very much, of course the story is about Helen Keller and her teacher, Annie Sullivan. It's very much a story about a family. And I think that that's what people forgot from the experience of having watched the movie is when Arthur Penn directed the film, he chose to make the focus of that story about the teacher-student relationship, and the parents and the son were out on the periphery, almost voices in another room. And when David Richenthal, who asked me to participate in this play, he's one of the lead producers on the play, I thought that I knew the play. I thought that I knew what it was about. And then having read the play, I realized I didn't know the story of Helen Keller at all. And, so this could be very much a story about an autistic child. It could be a story about a family that's dealing with somebody who has alcoholism or a drug addiction, and trying to find a way to communicate to that child. And the miracle of the miracle worker is that Annie Sullivan, using this sign language, was able to find a way to get Helen Keller to be able to see and hear in a different way. And I think for us as a society, it's so important for us to be able to communicate. And if somebody's not hearing what we're saying, to find a way to punch through that wall and be able to communicate with somebody who's just not hearing you.
That is really important. And the truth is, I hadn't thought about that in regard to all the issues that everyone seems to deal with today. But if something doesn't work, you have to keep trying something else. Also, what I didn't realize, we all know the story and we've all seen it, is that Annie Sullivan, you forget, yes, she was brilliant and she did extraordinary things, but she herself was almost blind, legally blind, and had a zillion surgeries. She was an orphan and spent terrible years in those days in what was really considered a poor house with her brother, the only survivor of this family, and he dies of consumption. So this was a young woman who had everything to lose and nothing to lose and never gave up. And it is a great lesson when you deal with kids. She was like a wild animal.
And she was Irish. And at that time, the story takes place. At that time, I mean, we're still kicking the Irish around, whatever. But yeah, the play takes place right after the American Civil War. And she's a Northerner, and she comes down to Alabama to try to tell Captain Keller how to do things. And so, number one, being a Northerner, number two, being a woman, coming into a Southern gentleman's home and telling them how things are going to be done. You can imagine the sparks that start flying when they start yelling at each other about how to get things done.
Yeah, right. Well,
I'll tell you what, if Annie Sullivan were around today and came into somebody's house, they'd arrest her. They'd have her they'd call social services, and they'd have her. It would never happen today. They put her in jail.
Of course, and she was just a young girl.
Yeah.
She was 18, 19 years old. We think of her as the teacher with a capital T. She was a youngster, and she did ultimately get married, and Helen Keller moved in with Annie Sullivan and her husband. He must have been some husband.
Yeah, I mean, I actually read quite a bit about that, and they Annie Sullivan became such a central part of Helen's life because she was literally Helen's eyes for the rest of her life. She went to college with her and spelled the lessons in her hand.
It was amazing.
She
went to Radcliffe.
Yeah, they ended up becoming sort of one person in a sense, which is also kind of the interesting thing for Kate Keller in the play is that, as much as she wants her daughter to learn and be able to learn, she also doesn't want to have to give up being the central mother figure in Helen's life, and to have Annie succeed means that Helen will probably never be as close to Kate as she will be to Annie.
Exactly.
And that's a big sacrifice for Kate.
And people go through it, not like that, but they go through it with, how many friends do you have who have had nannies or housekeepers or babysitters, and the kids like them initially better than their parents in the beginning? But we'll talk about that and more. We'll take a quick break. Matthew Modine and Jennifer Morrison, both among the stars of The Miracle Worker. We're broadcasting from Water's Edge. Beautiful view, a lovely restaurant, great audience. More after this.